Hello, my name is Caroline Baldwin and I'm a business technology journalist delighted to be hosting this Matterport webinar on how can retail evolve in a virtual world. Over the next 45 minutes or so, we will be taking a look at the changing face of retail and how 3D technology is playing a big part in connecting e-commerce and bricks and mortar shopping as we make our way out of the COVID-19 pandemic. To join me in the discussions, we have a number of retail and technology experts on this webinar with me today. In a moment, Elizabeth Fabozzi from Matterport will be taking you through a short presentation. Her and I are going to have a little chat about her findings afterwards, and then I will ask our excellent panel to join us. We have with us today Andrew James from Cedric Dupont Antiques, Sean Carter from Britt Carter Interiors, and Dan Cardona from Apex Imaging Services. And I really look forward to hearing their insights on this fascinating topic. And don't forget, if you're watching live, then you could submit your own questions through the live chat panel throughout, and we'll try and answer as many of those as we can. But before I hand over to Elizabeth, I thought I just might set the scene a little bit. So it's clear that COVID has changed retail forever, and it's been a huge challenge for the industry. And clearly, lockdown has just accelerated so much change as it's forced customers online and they just realise how good it is for them to shop easily from their sofa via their phone. Sadly, it has meant that we've seen goodbye to a number of brands already. Only the other week, we saw Becca Cosmetics in Australia, Kardashian favourite, close trading. Over here in the UK, ASOS has bought Topshop, which was huge news. And I'm sure there will be some sad demises as we go navigate our way out of the pandemic yet. But we live our lives online now, whether it's having events like this, or Zoom calls, or watching Netflix, or doing a gym class through Instagram Live, or shopping online. It's now just normal. So what has been really good about this is seeing a number of innovative retailing examples come about. Luckily, this acceleration has helped consumers get used to the technology. We just popped on the next slide that we can see some of these examples in that's happening right now. So the first one is that we've seen Coca-Cola has launched its own vending machine, which means that hygiene is just of course is of the utmost importance at the moment. Amazon Go, this was a really interesting one. So they only just launched their first store outside of the US, just down the road from me actually in West London. With more hopefully going to be launching across Europe. And this technology, we were thinking, the press, we were like, why are you choosing, London's in lockdown right now, why would you choose to open a store right this minute? But actually, when you think about it, customers want to get in and out. They want to pick up a pint of milk and they want to walk out with it. They don't want to be queuing, they don't want to be talking to a stranger over the checkout, they definitely don't want to be touching self-service screens for paying for their goods either. So actually it makes perfect sense. Another retailer, Lush, was working on an augmented reality app before the pandemic to remove packaging from as much of its products as possible. The idea is that you get your phone out and you just scan a product in store, or maybe it's in your bathroom shelf, to find out more information about ingredients and how to use the item. But again, it took the fact that a global pandemic to realise, well, actually this is quite handy to use in store, because then customers don't have to keep picking up products and putting them back down. And interestingly enough, Matterport has worked with Lush on one of its Christmas stores in Liverpool, which would be a really good one for you to check out after this webinar. So let's have a look at some Matterport research. 69% of consumers are missing browsing in physical stores, but actually 66% are still, a bit fearful of going back to crowded stores due to COVID-19. And 36% are citing a fear of getting sick as their top concerns. And oxymorons like this are going to be, there's going to be a lot more of them as we navigate our way out of this. And habits, it's taken a whole year for us stuck indoors to form these habits. So it's going to take a little while for us to break them as well. And why would consumers go into a store if they can easily buy from the comfort of their sofa via their phone? And on my next slide, I'm going to show you a really interesting example of how I personally think we're going to see retail as exciting and in-store experience going forward, because this is the way we encourage people back into our stores. If they can do it on their phone, we need to have an element of what in the industry is called retail theatre, which was a trend that was coming about before COVID, but I feel it's going to be quite important as we reopen stores across the world. Now, retail theatre is all about immersive and throwing the consumer into having this amazing experience in your store that you can't get anywhere else, and you certainly can't get from shopping online. So Nike's House of Innovation in New York is the example that is usually used here. But actually, I'm going to bring up this example in this photo here, which is a toy store in the US called Camp. Many of our US attendees might recognize it. It was formed by a former BuzzFeed exec, and we all know how much they've shaken up the publishing industry. So Camp is a toy store which the theme changes every few months. You can see in the picture here, there's like a jungle gym, and kids are climbing through the climbing frames and having the time of their lives. But interestingly, a large proportion of the store is behind the scenes. So you go through this wardrobe Narnia type adventure, and you get to this space in the back where kids are just playing with and having the time of their lives, and playing with all the different toys. And equally, you can do ticketed events, and if your parents want to go on date night, you can drop your kids off for babysitting. It's nothing like a store that you would have ever expected before. And it's this in-store experience that I think is going to be super important going forward to encourage people back into stores. Because from my many years of covering this topic, e-commerce and digital, I feel, is still fighting a little bit. And the most successful retailers out there are going to be the ones whose omni-channel experience seamlessly unites bricks and mortar and digital. And I'm really interested to learn whether 3D technology can help bridge this gap between e-commerce and bricks and mortar. So I'm going to now pass over to Elizabeth to find out a little bit more.
Wonderful. Thank you, Caroline. And let me turn on my camera here, make sure you guys can see me. All right, great. So thank you, Caroline. My name is Elizabeth Fabozzi. For those who don't know, I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager here at Matterport, and I'm super excited to walk through the Matterport 3D technology solution today and how exactly 3D technology can not only help bridge the gap between e-commerce and bricks and mortar, but to also digitize all of your store operations and create consistent experiences and so much more. But first, let's just give a little review on who Matterport is. So Matterport is the standard for space 3D capture and collaboration. We make it easy and fast to create immersive 3D digital twins of any retail space, simply by pairing a Matterport compatible device with the Matterport software. We've got over 230,000 users, which encompass a whole host of industries that have created over 4 million spaces covering about 8 billion square feet across the world. So those are properties, physical properties that we've digitized and uploaded onto the online. So as Caroline mentioned, the pandemic has resulted in unprecedented restrictions on mobility, not only in terms of customers able to shop in person, but also facilities managers to be able to effectively manage their brick and mortar stores at a distance, especially during these times. And this is where the 3D technology really comes into play. So these are just a few examples of some of the customers that have we brought on to our platform in the recent months, especially due to the pandemic. So I just want to flash that here. And now let's chat a little bit about e-commerce. So due to the pandemic, there's just been a heavy dependence on e-commerce and remote capabilities overall. It's basically become the standard for all industries now during these times. COVID has prompted brands to migrate from physical stores to producing most of their items online. This has resulted in a sudden change of transactions and a huge surge in e-commerce sales. Business Insider estimates that the global e-commerce spending has reached about $3.9 trillion in 2020. So a huge market. Matterport has seen a number of customers using Matterport as a way to bridge that gap between your physical brick and mortar store presence and your online e-commerce store. So at a time when in-store browsing is less readily available, by combining the emotional connection of the brick and mortar stores with the convenience of e-commerce, 3D can really act as a lifeline for a lot of retailers. So the first example we're going to go to is a global furniture company called Herman Miller. So when the pandemic started their London showroom last year, the company needed an innovative way to help provide people with access to the, regardless of the physical proximity or the ability to go to that store. So Matterport kind of came in, and our technology has allowed the business to basically kind of run as usual during a strict lockdown. Later on, we'll go into actually explore a retail space. This is just an image here. But you can see that we're using little matter tags all over the place to help describe the furniture. So basically, not only are they able to host clients from around the world across different time zones at their store, but we enable the customers to safely experience the brand they want to generate from the comfort of their home. You know, we think about e-commerce as, you know, kind of the Amazon user interface where you kind of search one thing and you just see a bunch of pictures of items. So you really lose that sense of visual merchandising, that sense of design and creativeness that the teams of the retail stores are really trying to generate for you in the brick and mortar store. So how do we actually translate that design and experience to an e-commerce? And that's really where Matterport comes in to merge those two things. So in an industry where a sense of scale can be difficult and showrooms are, you know, not open, using Matterport as a way to bridge that gap is a great start to your e-commerce business. So here's a really wonderful example. We can go into it a little bit, but this is a basically 100-year-old fourth generation family business in Australia. The Matterport Pro 2 went in and captured this winning appliance space. You can see measurements in here, highlight reels, lots of other things. So we'll go into that in just a minute. I'll show you guys, we'll do a walkthrough of the space. So back to the facts here. However, while consumers remain engaged with the evolving possibilities of online shopping, it's clear that they long for the experience of interacting with brands in physical locations. We had this stat before, but about 69% of respondents that we sent the survey out to miss physically walking through the stores. So the experience of the current online offering, the current e-commerce experience that most folks are offering, don't include this ability to browse, the ability to look at, to kind of compare two things at once, or the things that we really enjoy doing when we're shopping. So they really miss that around. And so while customers remain engaged with the evolving possibilities of online shopping, it's clear that the physical stores still have a future in retail. The physical stores will come back because people miss them. Consumer concerns need not be a deterrent from reopening a physical store. And with the gradual return of normality, realtors can explore innovative ways of reassuring their customers that they have a safe experience in store. All right, so we're going to go into a little bit of our features now. So the beautiful thing about Matterport is you not only get a full 3D virtual tour with measurements and 2D photos and things like that, but we also offer things like easy publishing to Google Street View. So if somebody Googles your store to find the location, you can actually drop your Matterport model onto the Google Street View, and people can go from viewing the outside of your store in Google Street View to actually entering the Matterport model itself. So this will really kind of help drive people towards your store. Safety precautions. So use labels and measurement mode to show how your store is COVID compliant. With a 3D capture of the space, consumers and staff members can easily review safety measures, precautions, anything you've done on the premises to make it safer, to help provide a sense of peace of mind before people actually enter your physical store. So show them you're compliant first. Customers can easily check out a store's arrangement online and ensure the physical distancing guidelines are also in place. You can identify hand washing stations, all of that kind of stuff. Now, so we talked a lot about e-commerce. We talked a little bit about showing off your space on Google Street View, but there are a lot more use cases for retail beyond what kind of is currently a hot topic around COVID-19 and e-commerce. So retailers can do a lot more than create new and exciting e-commerce experiences. We can quickly capture 3D virtual tours of in-store equipment, inventory, product selection and placements, displays, and much more to create consistent brand experiences across locations. So if you have a store that has multiple locations across geographies, you can help use Matterport to generate consistent experiences across those stores by digitizing them, uploading them online, and having facilities managers or construction managers kind of view all of that stuff online in one place. So usually using our data, stores can plan and implement and manage floor layouts, merchandising information. They can disseminate more quickly. Merchants are able to provide a digital blueprint for other stores to follow and successfully replicate their kind of visual merchandising design experience. And, each customer receives a high quality omni-channel experience regardless of the store layout or design limitations. There are just a slew of benefits for using Matterport in your documentation and facilities management. I'm going to just quickly cover a few of the use cases, which is better documentation and management. Digital 3D buildings, property assets are simple, cost-effective way to stay on top of your maintenance issues and even train employees on new processes through our SDK, which I'll go into a little bit later today. You can create more consistent shopping experiences, again, with the visual merchandising play, getting a sample store and sending that sample store to all of the locations so they can easily understand the visual merchandising design. There's also, especially during COVID, we're seeing, a lot of construction collaboration happening on the 3D model when the physical property or retail site is restricted. And kind of the last thing we're going to go into here is a little bit more on the facility side. I had hinted to this on the earlier slide. Facilities managers have now taken a strategic role in working with a lot of these retailers to help kind of bring everything online. So the beauty of having an online store for facilities management is that you have everything in one place and you can manage it from the 3D model instead of having to be within that physical store. So I know that was a lot of information in a short amount of time. So I want to just quickly, before we get started here, I'm just going to go ahead and open this up just so you guys get a nice idea of what it feels like to kind of walk through a Matterport retail space. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to walk in the store here. And say I want to look at one of these items. I can just click my Matter tag. It shows me a beautiful picture of the product itself. And then I can go ahead and view the product directly within their platform and go ahead and purchase and check out from there. So all within the Matterport platform. You can go over here. And we've embedded a little video in here. So like I said, you can embed photos, videos. There's a little cooking lesson in this one right now. So it's really a wonderful way to really bring your offline experience online. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Caroline, and who will guide our Q&A for the rest of the webinar.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. That was really interesting. We've got a few questions coming in from the audience already, so I might just jump in and ask you one, which was how one of our viewers is asking, how can they actually get started with this 3D technology?
Sure. So there are a few different ways to get started with Matterport. You can go ahead and visit our website, matterport.com, and there will be a link to sign up for a free account. You can go to the Apple App Store and download the Matterport Capture app on your iPhone and get started that way. You can start with a free account just so as you get used to things, and then you can upgrade to the paid account once you feel either comfortable with the technology or you have a model that you want to put up. You can also get started using any of our 360 cameras. So we're compatible with several 360 cameras, mostly produced by a company called Ricoh or Insta. So it's going to be the Ricoh Theta or the Ricoh Z1 or the Insta or the Insta 360 or the Insta 1R. So there are a couple of different less expensive options to get started. You could always go with the Matterport Pro 2 camera, which is a little bit more on the more expensive side. And if you're just a small retail organization, I would just highly suggest you either go with iPhone or 360. If you're a very large organization, you're thinking about using this for facilities management or visual merchandising or anything across multiple geographies, I would highly suggest using the Pro 2 camera or the 360 camera.
Goodness, there's quite a few options there then.
Yeah, so there's several options, but the best way to get started would be to download the app on your iPhone and try that out.
Fantastic. So tell me, there seems to be so much that you can do with this tech, but are there any limits to it?
Are there any limits to the technology? Yeah, so there are several different kinds of limits. So some of the limitations have to do with your capture device, right? So I was suggesting folks use their iPhone to try it out, or their 360. So the only thing that you will not get with your 360 or your iPhone are some of the data pieces behind the scenes. So we didn't go into it today, but Matterport collects a lot of 3D data along with the imagery and 3D model itself. So with the iPhone and 360, you're not going to be able to get things like floor plans, like matter packs, things that are derived from the 3D data, because iPhone and 360 actually utilize an artificial intelligence that assumes the 3 dimensions from a 2-dimensional photo. So we don't, at Matterport, we're not providing 3D assets for 360 cameras, which are the Ricoh cameras and the iPhone. So those are some of the limitations that folks will run up to there.
Perfect. We're getting loads of questions coming in. Hopefully our technical whizzes in the background are answering those for you as we go along. If not, there will be an email that you can email at the end of the webinar, and you can speak to the Matterport representatives and get those answered. One more question for you before we move on to the panel. You mentioned the SDK. Do you want to go into a little bit more detail about that? Because we've got a few people in the audience asking about that.
Yes, absolutely. So let me make sure I'm sharing my right screen here. So what the SDK allows people to do is it allows people to basically build a look and feel on top of Matterport. So right now we have different ways you can actually use the Matterport SDK. So, one of my favorites is this little quiz overlay that we're going to show you an example of here. So you can imagine using the SDK to help generate a consistent e-commerce experience on your platform. So you can add, a Shopify type experience on top of Matterport to help you create an inclusive buying experience. So as you saw in the example earlier with the winning appliance, you saw that I had actually opened a secondary window to complete the transaction. When using the Matterport SDK, you can actually embed all of that transaction information within the model, so you can have a checkout experience that never leaves Matterport. I will say that the SDK does require development capabilities, so you will need to have engineers on your side to help build out the software development kit. But it's a really wonderful tool help people understand, what we're looking at. Obviously, this is a quiz. It wants me to measure the size of the TV by using my little measurement mode here. But we're not going to go through that today. I just want to show you some other examples. You can edit your matter tags to be a little bit more consistent across your different stores. So, here we've got, embedded information here. But you can do anything like remove tags, add tags, and then edit all of your kind of content within the SDK here. So it's really key for a lot of retailers. If you go online, you can probably Google immersive stores, and you can see a couple of examples that Matterport has done with other retailers. But this is just how our SDK works. So it's basically an on top of Matterport example or user experience, I should say.
So the building blocks are there to do some really exciting stuff. Basically, there's a lot you can do with this technology. So maybe that's a really good point to bring the panel back online, so we can have the gentlemen join us and talk a little bit about those real life use cases. So Sean, Dan, and Andrew, if you can turn on your cameras and your microphones, we can get stuck in. While we wait for Dan's camera to kick into gear, I might just start by asking the first question, because I think I want you all to explain to the audience a little bit about how you're using this technology and some of the benefits that you've discovered. So perhaps Andrew, you can kick us off with that as our first kind of case study example, and explain a little bit about your company as well. You have a very interesting backdrop there compared to the rest of us, and boring. Where are you?
I apologize for my backdrop.
No, please don't apologize. It's the most exciting thing I've seen all throughout the pandemic.
Oh, thank you. My name is Andrew James. I'm the marketing manager for Cedric Dupont Antiques, and we're located in Palm Beach, Florida. And we are an antiques dealer of important and rare French and Italian antiques from 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries.
Fantastic. And how have you been using Matterport, Andrew?
So we mainly and primarily use Matterport to showcase our gallery to folks who aren't able to travel to us. And as you mentioned, during the pandemic, it was really important for businesses to really get into the living room of people, and not only in their living room, but also on their phone, while they're there at the store, if they're walking around. Being able to be in front of someone at all times is imperative. And especially with the pandemic, when everyone was closing their doors, the lifeline to so many businesses was cut. And adding Matterport to our experience really has really helped a lot of clients be able to visit the gallery from afar and not have to miss out on all that we offer.
Fantastic. And I can just imagine how great it would be to use that technology to properly delve into all of that those exciting products that you have around you. We'll come back to you in a moment. Sean, how about yourself? How have you been using Matterport, and what are some of the benefits you've discovered so far?
Yeah, so we are kind of a hybrid business. We have a 20,000 square foot showroom, but we're two interior designers, and our biggest thing is trying to show off our showroom. We set our showroom up in a little bit of a unique way, where we completely decorate it out with, furniture, wall coverings, artwork, lighting, accessories, everything that you'd see in a home. So seeing the product all put together is the experience that we always used to have, that we were really kind of lacking since everything went online, and now you're just looking at products. So to be able to get our showroom out there easily to people has been a game changer for us.
Fantastic. And Dan, your use case is slightly different. I'd love it if you could explain a little bit to our audience how you differ from Andrew and Sean's businesses, and also how you've been using Matterport as well.
Yep. So we've been really utilizing it. We serve a lot of your enterprise type retailers. So companies such as Home Depot, Starbucks, Chipotle, 7-Eleven, companies that have, hundreds, if not thousands of stores across their chain. And some of the use cases that we're really looking at right now currently, and it helped a lot of these chains get through the pandemic, which is going out and creating that digital twin, developing different SDKs for search functionality, to use to hone in on points of interest inside of a store, to pieces of equipment, and as well, at the same time, as Elizabeth mentioned earlier, using different levels of technology, we can extract data points that help us create as-built in the future and that sort of thing. So really, what we've been able to do is give these chains just a lot of useful information to them without having to go back to revisit stores, and help them collaborate through this COVID pandemic and keep operations going from the facilities perspective.
And can you maybe go into a few tangible examples that you can share, and maybe the SDKs that you've created, or some of the other noticeable results that your clients are really pleased with?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to mention that anybody in the enterprise world that has again hundreds or thousands of locations, a lot of times us in that space find ourselves wondering how many objects or items do we have across various stores. What do those look like? What are my true as-built conditions? I might not have accurate plans. And we need those accuracies to be able to facilitate change across the chain. And we deal with a lot of rollout type work. And what we mean by that is taking one specific item or a program and applying it across the entire chain. So again, creating this digital twin, what's been great is we're able to provide that to all the cross-functional teams within the organization. So it really doesn't matter if you're in facilities or you're in operations or you're in marketing. From that one single Matterport scan, there's just a whole variety of useful information that can be extracted and shared, as well as opening up the digital twin to vendor teams, quite honestly. And that was something that during the COVID initial outbreak, the chains that we had already captured and created digital twins for their whole enterprise, we were really able to not break stride in our operations. We didn't have to go back and visit facilities physically. We're able to share that with all the teams and really collaborate virtually and keep those ongoing operations moving forward. But to further expand, we're also, in addition to that, able to provide additional services such as creating construction documents, as-built, scope of work solutions, all from that single visit without having to revisit the facility. So it's proven to be a very useful tool.
Fascinating. I love this term digital twin. That is definitely a new one on my radar after covering this topic for quite a while. Andrew, Sean, let's start with Andrew. How about you? Have you got any really interesting examples of how you've used this, or maybe a customer's come back to you and said something really interesting, where you sold something off the back of using this technology that you never thought you would?
Yes, of course. So Matterport not only has been very useful inside the gallery with allowing clients to see obviously what we offer, but at the same time, we utilize it outside the gallery as well. We do a similar service to Dan, where we actually are designing for clients, and we utilize the pieces that we have, and Matterport has become a major resource in that. Your ability to be able to scan a space in the matter of hours and upload it to our database, into our spaces, so that clients can see it, as well as being able to utilize it with our designers. And for AutoCAD, they can create full 3D models that we can then customize just by exporting the Matter pack that we have available to us after using Matterport. As well as kind of going again into the realm of bringing people into the store. There's a number of times, especially in the antique world, where someone wants to see the piece. It's not like you're going to IKEA where it's selling, say, tens of thousands of the same table. Everything that we sell is technically one of a kind. So for us, it's very important that someone is able to walk into the gallery and not only see a space, but also be able to perceive the scale of a piece and feel like it's within their home. And we've had a number of clients, one of which who recently purchased a mirror off the wall here, really only found the mirror after experiencing our Matterport tour and seeing what it looked like in person, and then, and then purchasing the piece.
That makes sense. And talking of scale of pieces, that is one ginormous desk in front of you. So yeah, we can imagine that they can be a little bit bigger than you expect.
Yes.
So how about yourself? Have you got any really interesting use cases of this technology, or something anecdotally you can share with our audience?
Yeah, so we started using it right before the pandemic, and even before then, we were having, we've done so much different types of marketing that's hard to track, and this was one of the first things where people were coming in and saying, oh, I saw your Matterport and I walked through it and I want to find this piece now. And that's typically how it goes. They see something and then that spurs to bring them in. So they're able to kind of pre-shop, if you will, from home or on their phone, anywhere. And then they come in. Then we discovered the Matterport tags and realized we could put more information, or if we were having any kind of sample sale or anything more that we wanted to, kind of talk up an individual product, we could put a Matterport tag on it. One of the things that we're really excited about getting into now, if we ever slow down, because we've been so busy, I mean, it's a pandemic, but we've been crazy busy. We're going to start doing all our portfolio with Matterport. So instead of just taking, real expensive pictures of a space, we can go in and we can do the Matterport of the room or the entire home, and you can have a much more interesting experience of seeing everything from a 360 view.
I guess a lot of consumers who are spending a lot of time at home, so they really want to do up their homes and use your services, hence why you're so busy, which is fantastic to hear. Talking of, so all of you have got this experience of how consumer shopping habits have changed and you've seen them firsthand. Elizabeth, maybe we could start with yourself and have a little bit chatter whether you think, are consumers going to go back to completely normal in a few weeks, months, or even a year's time, or do you think things are going to be very flux or different going forward?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So I don't anticipate the traditional store to disappear in any sort of way. I think people are craving for in-store experiences. Everybody loves shopping as a social gathering kind of thing to do. So I don't expect any brick and mortar stores to kind of go away. But I do think that there is a kind of new appetite for this kind of hybrid model, a new appetite for wanting to experience that in-store kind of inspiration feeling while still maintaining a safe distance. So in the future, I don't anticipate anything will be happening to brick and mortar stores. I think that they're here to stay. But I do think that with the current environment, we need to think about how to future-proof ourselves. So I think that in looking at what happened this year, adopting a strategy like Matterport can kind of help guarantee your business through the times.
Interesting. And Andrew, perhaps yourself, again, we've kind of touched on this already, but clearly customers want to come into your stores and they have to see it to a certain extent. So obviously, I'm presuming you're hoping that stores will still be around, but how do you think customers might be shopping with you differently? I think,
to be honest, I feel like a lot of people are going to go back to the same old habits of going into a store and purchasing something. Especially in a field like ourselves and in a field like Sean's, where it's so imperative that someone kind of feels and touches and sees something. But at the end result, I think something like Matterport is imperative, just like Elizabeth said, in moving towards the future, future-proofing ourselves to make sure that anything that could potentially happen that would limit the experience people in the store, we're able to go to them as opposed to them coming to us. I feel like the day of, having a business where it's a destination where someone can only go there and experience it themselves are over. I feel like everyone wants to be able to have anyone be able to experience what they have to offer. And that's what Matterport's allowing.
Need a bit of a mixture. And Dan, you can maybe give us a different viewpoint, because obviously, as Andrew said, Andrew and Sean's stores are very specific stores, aren't they? But you're working with a range of clients. So how about those clients that aren't necessarily the destination stores? How do you think that we might be shopping with them differently as we go forward?
Well, I think from what we're seeing, there's still a lot of change that's taking place inside of, the physical environment to accommodate, some of the shopping habits today. I think we are starting to see Matterport technology be utilized more in a online environment, but we still are seeing really change to accommodate how transactions are picked up. So there's still going to be the traditional, I'm going to walk in a store, make a purchase, and go to the register environment. But we're also starting to see programs like what we call the children of COVID, which might resemble something along a more robust curbside pickup, maybe a revamped drive-through experience and things like that. But I think, overall, it's we're all trying to, just widen the net, if you will, to capture more But what we're really seeing on more of the design, build, operate side is we still have those customers, clients that are trying to manage their facilities and do more with less. It might be less folks on the team, it might be less vendors, and that's where we're starting to see, more and more of a need for having this kind of data.
Super. And Sean, how do you think we're going to manage this flux? Because to the point, there is definitely going to be quite a bit of constant flux between online e-commerce and in-store. And what do you think the future is going to hold?
I don't really know. It just keeps on changing, and we just keep on trying to keep up with it. I think one of the great things about Matterport has been it's been relatively easy to get on board with. We're a smaller company and we wear a lot of hats, so we're doing a little bit of everything. And if anything is too hard to do, we tend not to do it. So it's nice to have technology that was very easy to get into. And that's what we just keep on doing, is trying to figure out the next thing.
Fantastic. Elizabeth, I've got a question on when you were showing off those SDKs, the idea that you can look at an oven and you can have a cooking lesson come off the back of that when you're inside the model. Are there any other cool examples like that you could share to give some inspiration to our audience?
Sure. So hopefully my sharing will work right now. Let's see if I can show you guys what we've got here. It's kind of a new use case. So this here you can see this is a Nissan Navara. So you can see that we've kind of worked with Nissan to isolate the particular item here. So this is a real kind of 3D view of the truck. So you can walk around the truck, really understand what's going on. There are, plenty of kind of sales information around it. You can actually go inside the truck and see what the cab looks like within here. You can describe lots of information about it. So really the capabilities of Matterport, especially with the software development kit, which helps you adjust the look and feel of every space, is really a powerful tool, and you can use it many different ways, from exploring something, explaining something, or really helping a user develop a true experience.
Fantastic. Andrew, Sean, I'd be quite interested in what you think about that example. Just thinking, obviously, it's your stores that have been mapped, and maybe if we've got a bit of time, Elizabeth can show us the model just before we log off in a moment. But what do you think about maybe mapping down to an individual product level? How useful do you think that might be for you going forward?
I think if Matterport has the ability to do so, we would of course utilize it. We actually, right now, and it's a very time-consuming process, and I'm sure Sean again could add some insight into this, when working with a standalone piece such as a piece of furniture, having it drawn in AutoCAD and creating a 3D rendering of a piece is something that takes a lot of time. It's very expensive, and not many businesses can afford to do it. Something such as this, where you can isolate a piece and really have a 3D image of it from all angles and be able to experience it on its own, is going to be something that I know that our company is going to utilize.
Fantastic. And that's quite interesting, because obviously your pieces are one of a kind. So whereas Dan might be using the product on something that's got a high turnover of selling the same things, it's still worthwhile you mapping that sculpture that's right behind you, even though there's only one of them and someone might buy it tomorrow. It's still worthwhile you doing that.
Of course, yes. And I mean, I feel like any way possible to make your client's experience that much more enjoyable, to really give them more information. I mean, one thing that I can tell you that Matterport has really allowed for us to do is build trust with clients. Someone who hasn't been here or maybe has never heard of us before, a lot of antique dealers, you can kind of assume that maybe they have a small showroom, or it's just even a warehouse by itself, and they don't have a brick and mortar location, where certain individuals and certain other, galleries, even museums could utilize this to really be able to show people exactly what they offer. And if you are a smaller gallery that happens to have a brick and mortar location, you are able to now showcase it and shoot it in a really easy way and have it available to your clients very, very quickly. And I think it's just going to be another layer of trust that we can build on top of it to really showcase this is what we have, and you can trust to come in and actually see it.
Interesting. Is trust quite a big reason why you're using it too, Sean?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, we sell very expensive product, and to be able to experience it like that really does legitimize it, and lets people understand exactly what you're trying to do and what you're capable of doing.
And Dan, again, the trust side of things, is that such a big deal for you because you're using it so differently, or is it something else?
No, I think it is, because that same digital twin that's created that can be used for operational purposes can also be used for online marketing purposes. So I think that's where we see some different value adds.
Fantastic. And when it comes to that retail theatre that I touched on in my introduction, Dan, I'd love to know whether you think that that's going to be a trend as we go back to normal. Do you think we're going to see all of these? But like, I can definitely imagine us going into stores like Andrew and Sean's. But do you think some of the bigger retailers out there with many different stores, with the Nikes, the Camps of the world, do you think they're going to have to up their game a little bit as well to be as great as these guys?
Well, I do, because regardless of the retailer, just about every retailer has flagship stores, and those flagship stores can be used as their theater stores. So that's a way to showcase. If you have a T-Mobile flagship store in Times Square, New York, it's a great way to show people who are living in the California market who might not be able to go visit that. So I think that they have that opportunity to use.
Fantastic. Elizabeth, we've got a few minutes left for our audience. I know we were going to keep this to 45 minutes, but because we had some technical issues, we're going to try and go through to the hour. So hopefully you can stay with us. If you can't, perhaps you can finish things off on the recording that will be sent out afterwards. Elizabeth, it'd be great if you could quickly show us maybe Andrew or Sean's, or both if we have time, their model, if you've got that there.
Sure.
We're just waiting for that model to come up. What was when you launched this, Sean, just before the pandemic, didn't you? So how easy was it to launch, especially considering you're doing it in one of the most difficult periods in retail history?
It was pretty easy. So like I said, we try to do a lot of things. We wear a lot of hats as a smaller business, and so we've done all the social media marketing and trying to get into that. We do, AutoCAD and several different CAD programs. So you're always trying to learn new things. This was extremely easy. I think we called up Matterport one day, and I might have had someone walk me through a couple things, and I think I was able to read the instruction manual and be on it within about 20 minutes testing it out. So it was very easy and still very easy to use. It's pretty common sense.
Was that a similar experience for you, Andrew?
Yes, actually, we shot our Matterport tour ourselves in the gallery, and we actually did ours in June of 2019. So it was a little bit earlier than the pandemic, but we saw obviously a major use case for it when the pandemic occurred.
Fantastic. So this is Sean's store, which is Brick Carter. And remind us, where in the world are you, Sean?
So we are just 25 miles north of Chicago, in the north suburbs.
Wow, beautiful store.
And it's quite impressive.
Yeah, it makes so much of a big deal. I mean, we're always trying to just show products, pictures of products, and it doesn't do nearly as much as this.
Yeah. Do you appreciate the ability to keep your kind of visual merchandising design and kind of keep the user, within a group of furniture versus looking at just all armchairs?
Oh yeah, I mean that's the whole reason why we set our showroom up the way we do, and it's a little bit unique. I'm sure others do it, but it's not your traditional furniture setup where it's usually just a lot of stuff all bunched together on top of one another. So it really gives people an idea of scale and what works together.
Oh, I love the color of this couch.
And that just can't be replicated online, can it? Because you would Google teal sofa and you would get the sofas come up. You wouldn't necessarily see the beautiful. It takes a lot more effort to get that across on a simple e-commerce site what might go well with that. It's just like an add-on. It's not the same experience at all.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Fabulous. Well, we've got a couple more minutes. Do you think we can squeeze in Andrew's as well?
Absolutely.
And so Cedric DuPont Antiques, Andrew, is remind me where you are again?
We're in Palm Beach, Florida.
Florida, yes, perfect.
And Elizabeth, if you'd like, the first floor would probably be a really good example to show them.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. This actually brings them directly into the main floor of our gallery. This room that you're in right now is actually, we call it room 15, but it's one of the main rooms. And then the room you're actually entering right now is our main showroom. So it shows you everything that we have. We have consoles, statuaries, desks, kind of a little bit different layout than Sean's, where it's not a matter of groupings of pieces, but we do have different sections of the gallery where we do showcase pieces more like they would be inside someone's home.
Mm-hmm. This is beautiful.
Thank you very much. The Matter tags for us have been imperative. It's something that we utilize all the time, and it's just a way to really give more information and allow people to kind of go from the gallery again to our website and to have a more, kind of just easy flow through the experience.
Fantastic. And our audience are loving your stores as well, gentlemen. You'd like to know. I think we have to start wrapping up now, I'm afraid. So if we go back to our presentation, I can share with the audience there how best to get in touch with Matterport. And I just want to start by saying a huge thank you. I think we all agree that there's definitely going to still be a retail store here in 2030, thankfully. And yes, just firstly, a huge thank you to our panelists, to Andrew, Sean, Dan and Elizabeth. Thank you for your insights. It's been a really fascinating conversation. A huge thank you to our audience as well for dealing with a few technical difficulties, but also for all your lovely questions and really engaging with us over this past hour. There will be a recording as well, which I'm sure you can get hold of. And if you have any other questions that haven't been answered already, you can contact us at webinars@matterport.com and visit at www.matterport.com. And a huge thank you for Matterport for having me, and stay safe everybody. Thank you, and yeah, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are today. Bye bye.
A wonderful day. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, everyone.